All right, so recording is so. Thank you once again, Oana, for joining. We so much appreciate your time. So Oana is my very good friend. If you want to, she joined us in cohort one. Also talked about the user guide, white papers, and knowledge base. So she will also be doing that today. And from what she told me, this is an updated slide. So you have new goodies from her. So Oana, we have the floor. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much. Hi, guys. Nice to be here with you. Thank you for the invite again. I have a presentation. The updates somehow will be added with my content, with my comments, and based on the experience that I've had in the past 6 months after the first time I presented something about knowledge base in cohort one, as Wisdom said earlier. Let me try to share my screen. Okay. And if you guys can tell me if you can see my screen. Okay, so you have to speak because I'm not seeing. Okay.
Yeah, they can see. So they're
Thank you,
using
guys.
they will not
Yeah,
distract.
I can see it.
we can see it. Awesome. Okay, so we're gonna talk about the knowledge-based principles, and you will see in the different places knowledge base written in 2 words and 1 word. Don't be scared about that. It depends on some preferences. It depends on the interaction that you have with knowledge base in general. And let's get started. So something about me. I started as a help desk analyst. My bachelor degree is in English literature and Romanian literature and language, so I am no IT guy. I've been working though in IT for the past 15 years, and I've had experience with a lot of projects. And I've been through all the stages, starting something new, pilot programs. I then joined the knowledge world and as a specialist, and continued as a content editor and then instructional designer. And now I'm a technical writer. I started the technical writer as a role 3 years ago, but mainly the tasks that I had previously also were linked to this um, area of tasks. I'm very passionate about writing and about organizing stuff and organizing information. And I also believe that when you start acting towards what you really like, things happen. So this is also a keynote for you guys. If you really like doing something, whether it is technical writing or not, if you believe in it and you work for it, it will happen to you. So let's dive into the agenda. I've tried to cover some of the topics that I think are important for this discussion today. I'm going to start with an icebreaker, but it's more about related to documentation in general. Talk about some of the types of guys that you guys will find in your activity if you are a technical writer, or if you want to become a technical writer or content editor. What is a knowledge base in my perspective and in others' perspective, and what is the impact of structured documentation? And at the end, maybe we'll have some minutes for a Q&A. I'll be happy to answer any question that you guys might have. So I consider this an icebreaker, but usually an icebreaker is something that connects people during a session. I like you to call it like that because I will always want to highlight the importance of technical writing. So technical writing is important because it drives vision, and it brings attention towards the knowledge. It maps the information for any organization, any team or bigger company, and it aligns processes with the information. Technical writing, I think it has been under-evaluated and underestimated for a long time. But it's very important because it highlights the obvious. This is something that I like a lot, because sometimes unless you actually start writing about a tool or about a process, you never understand what's the actual obvious information. And it's pretty difficult at some point to explain a lot with less words. And technical writing does that because it layers data based on the history and evolution of a product, and also depending on how, let's say, the work has evolved up to that point. I chose Stripe last time and this time as well to show you guys how they have structured their knowledge base and the type of documentation they have. I have never worked for Stripe or any projects related to this company, but I know for sure that many people like it because it's very well organized and is the result of work from I don't know, from many areas, from a lot of people, and for a longer period of time. So this is how Stripe database looks like, or the knowledge base, or if you want to call it the documentation page. It's for developers in this situation. So we are talking about a software product, and it is addressed to a specific audience. Now, we will talk about the audience a bit later as well. You probably know this already, or maybe you have found out from other people from this mentoring program that the audience is very, very important for any technical writer. So this is how Stripe has decided to show the information they think is relevant for the developers. Okay, let's continue with the next topic, which is the guides section. So we have more types of guides. You probably know that. And why I have decided to talk about guides is because it's a very important aspect of the knowledge base. So you have the user guides. The user guides are a document that describe a functionality. Yeah, the purpose is to inform. It has to be timeless. It has to be informational. It has to be with a formal way of addressing. So you cannot be that friendly to when you write a user guide. And it's very important because it addresses an audience with different levels of knowledge about the topic that you're talking about. As specifics, I added here a lifespan of 1 year, but that depends on, I don't know, how fast a product or the let's say the topic that you're talking about in that user guide evolves, because in nowadays 1 year of having a user guide may be outdated. It becomes stale, so it's not that relevant to the evolution of a product. But let's address the impact. So why would you need a user guide? You would need a user guide because you can track and trace the evolution of a product. You describe how it works. You define a process. You define how it works. You define a policy and the procedure. You define a concept, and it is applicable to the needs and aspirations in line with the business strategy. So a user guide is very, very important, and it's one of the building blocks of the knowledge base. That's why I'm starting with the user guide. Okay, let's go back to Stripe, to our example. Here is how they have one of the user guides. So you will find this getting started all the time. It's something that a lot of companies decide to choose to select when they start with a user guide. My personal preference is to add a tag in the title of this kind of document, so your audience would know what you are talking about. I always like to be very specific when I write documentation, and I always believe that getting started is not always the best solution, because you can get started with anything. Yeah, so my advice would be for you, for example, to mention that you are offering a user guide. Next, troubleshooting guides. Now, troubleshooting guides are very specific. They address a very specific problem. They sometimes can apply to a team. They can apply to a product, to a specific section. They are very restrictive at some point because they are pointing to something that is not generally applicable, but at the same time they can be I don't know, zoomed out. Yeah, so you can address a situation that is affecting a lot of people from different levels. Usually, user guides cannot be in the same shape or form for more than 6 months or a year, and you always have to update them. You always have to keep in mind that changes are always happening, procedures are always happening. They are very a live section in a knowledge base. They are also one of the other building blocks of a knowledge base, because you explain to people how to do things, and this is very important. And you have to be very direct when you write troubleshooting guides. You have to be very clear, very specific, and you have to be very accurate. This is why it's important that you interact with your stakeholders a lot. Stakeholders are the people that help you to write documentation. Stakeholders may be, I don't know, engineers, maybe program managers, product managers, I know, people from different areas or organizations within a company that help you understand what to do and how to write that troubleshooting guide. The impact of a troubleshooting guide is that they educate, they tell people how to do and what to do. They help them to resolve a problem, which is very important. It's a connection between more departments and more organizations within the same team, within the same company, and they facilitate the interaction between different departments. And this is very important because you can see connection between, for example, I don't know, engineering team and a management team. Okay. This is an example of a troubleshooting guide from Stripe documentation. What I like about this is that it says troubleshooting. You will find a lot of abbreviations. For example, a lot of engineers will use the term TSG, which means troubleshooting guide. I also recommend that if you write troubleshooting guides, also to tag in a way, to map in a way the content of a troubleshooting guide from the title and from the start. Just mention, for example, mention the error that you are talking about, bring as much as information as possible, always double check the information that you write. And this is my advice for you whenever you write whatever kind of information, because it's very important that you are accurate, and a technical writer has a lot of responsibility. Installation guides. Now, these are not, I don't know, at some point in the technical world, maybe they will become less needed, because things may occur very fast, and maybe people will not consider important that they have an installation guide. But for other type of people that might want to use a software tool, installation guides are important because they describe how to install a product or how to upgrade a product. They can be used for training purposes, and that's why they are important. In my table here, I added these 3 sections, as you can already see: a definition, some specifics, and the impact they have. But these are more for you to understand, to have a guidance. They're created based through an analysis, and you have to have the confirmation of an SME. Now, in a previous slide, I have explained what that is. An SME is a subject matter expert. You probably know that, but I just feel the need to say that to make things even clearer. And what is the impact? I always highlight the impact. So they provide authenticity to products, they promote best practices and strategies, and that's very important. And again, they acknowledge the obvious information. Sometimes you don't know what box to tick when you install a new tool, and all hell can break loose. Sorry to say that, but that can happen. So it's very important that in an installation guide, you highlight what is very important, so people understand. You have to have a very clear way of expressing yourself. You think of it as you would write, as you will help someone to get to a specific point, but you don't have time to get that much into details, and you have to layer the information. Installation guides are like, I like to say it like an onion. So it's like you peel an onion, you have different layers. So you start with something general, and then you go to the core of the product, what you're trying to install. And this is an example of an installation guide, again, from Stripe. and it says the word installation in the title, something again that I would recommend. As I said earlier, map the content of your documentation right from the beginning, and the beginning is always the title, because people in the audience will know what you're doing. Well, in installation guides, it's very important that you add, for example, a prerequisites or the requirements of what you might need or what is very important to have before you start the installation process. When you start explaining the information, you have to be very concise, you have to be very direct, and always use I don't know, tables, lists, add numbers to it, try to highlight what's important, add links, as many as you consider important, to offer as much information as possible, but in layers. So start with the most important and then go deeper with the information. Integration guides. Now, this is something that I haven't been writing that much in my life as a technical writer, and they are like tutorials. Yeah, they show you how to use different type of technologies. Now, in nowadays, I think that these might have been replaced by videos. Now, I have been doing videos, I have been editing videos. I have a nice collaboration with one of the teams at Microsoft, the Fluent team, Fluent UI team. They're awesome guys, and they will share a video next week with how they do the coding for the Fluent UI. And in integration guides, you provide information about best practices of an organization and how to approach a different type of technologies. Again, this is something that you would maintain as a technical writer on request, or ideally as often as possible. The impact of integration guides is that they address various technical issues. They help you to scale effort from different teams, and they enable a holistic delivery mechanism. So it approaches the situation from different points, from different sides, so you can understand how to solve it. Now, this is an example of an integration guide from Stripe addressing a SaaS business, and you have tables, you have lists, you have very structured information, and it's again about how much you understand the audience and what is the intent that you have when you write a specific type of document. Think of it as you are the one you are talking to, or think of it as you are trying to write the information for someone that does not know that many details about the topic that you're explaining. White papers. White papers are, let's say, an addition, something that is not a building block for a knowledge base. They exist. They are preferred by specific departments or, I don't know, teams within a company. It's a document that, I don't know, explains some details, some processes, some procedures, maybe from a management point of view, maybe from, I don't know, a team that it's very important to create pipelines between other teams and how they work together and how they manage a specific workflow on a project. Why are these important? Because they set a direction. You can think of white papers as release notes, maybe, because they explain what's going to happen, what the team is doing, or the project where it's going to. It lists some actions, and it upfronts information on, I don't know, defining an output that you want to obtain. You have some steps to do, you have chronological order, you have a timeline, and it gives you an idea on what's going to happen. Okay, this is an example of a white paper. So, for example, in this white paper, you have information about versioning of a product and support policies. Again, this is something more of a procedural type of document preferred by specific departments. Now, in this kind of situation, maybe you will collaborate with the program manager or the product manager. Okay. Now let's get to the core of it, the knowledge base. Yeah. What is a knowledge base? A knowledge base is a collection. It's a collection of data. Um, and it facilitates and tries to automate a process. It brings all the goodies. It has a lot of information. It's I think you can look at it, and I don't think I'm wrong saying this. You can look at it as um, a place where a community brings the best, the information about a product or more products, about workflows, about processes, about procedures, solutions, um, situations they encounter, I don't know, once in a while. A knowledge base has guides, has tutorials, it can have written content, it can have videos. You can use the knowledge base to create an onboarding process to help someone join the team. And the audience of your knowledge base is very, very diverse. So you can have engineers, you can have managers, you can have people from different departments. Everyone could find useful information there. This is why it's so complex and it's very challenging, yeah, to organize a knowledge base and to maintain a knowledge base, because it requires a lot of effort, it requires a lot of attention, and you have a big responsibility, yeah. Because with a knowledge base, you are managing and developing content abroad, different teams, and with a very I'm saying this again, a very diverse perspective. You have to consider a lot of scenarios, a lot of situations, but it helps you to optimize. Yeah, it helps you to optimize processes and tools, and it creates a cohesion of all the information, and it's the place that everyone goes to. And sometimes a knowledge base for a team or for a product can be their card. Yeah, it's that signature that tells a lot about how the team works or how an organization itself works. Now, this is the some of the details of how a knowledge base can look like. You have an introduction page section, you have information about the tools, you have information about the products, you have financial information, business, developers, product, a lot of information can be added to a knowledge base. It's something that is very important for any company. And while you are working to create or to update or to maintain a knowledge base, I think it's something great, because a technical writer maintaining a knowledge base is not just a person that adds in information or takes it out or updates information. You are, in a way, you tie a lot of pieces. Yeah, you're making this puzzle working. And for me, for example, it's something really, really great, which I like so very much. Now, what is the impact of structured documentation? I just highlighted 5 aspects here. It completes onboarding. Yeah, and when I mean onboarding, you have a newcomer in a team, or maybe you have someone outside, or maybe you have a manager that just joined the team, the company, and they have no clue where to go to. But if you show them a structured documentation, you save a lot of time, and they're jumping into the workflow of that team. It improves the skill set. Yeah. So this is very, very important, because when you have structured documentation, you help people add to their skill set. They understand the perspective, they understand, they have various possibilities to evolve. They have the possibility to understand the direction of the team, of the product, sorry, and what is going to happen next. So that's very important. You can add trainings, you can add courses and other recommendation. Structured information helps to clear communication. Yeah. So you have no idea how nice it is when someone hands you over a very structured document or a page with what they have to do or what's been going on so far, where you have these very nice analytics tables and representations of a situation. Yeah, so structured documentation enables communication between different parties of a project or an organization. You can use it to measure progress. Yeah, so you can show progress to someone within or outside, coming outside from your organization. Hey, we started with this and the product is going there. We had this at the beginning and now we have that. We're covering these areas and we are going into this direction. And we have solutions for every problem. We have I don't know, suggestion for what we can improve and so on. And structured documentation also helps to define the actual knowledge. Yeah, so you have people that are very knowledgeable. They have a lot of information. They know a lot of stuff. They have great experience. But how can you take the benefit of that? Yeah, so you structure what they have in their mind, you know, in articles, in videos, in any form of content, and you follow a structure, you show consistency, and you increase the customer satisfaction. And customers are not just people outside. Yeah, so a customer, a very important customer, is the person working with your team or who just joined your team, or maybe your manager, and that's very important. Now let's take a little bit into detail. So what I mean when I say complete onboarding, I tried here to take the 4 values of the Agile Manifesto, because everyone talks about Agile. We all want to be Agile, but why is it important that we are Agile in documentation as well? So it's important because you connect individuals from different roles to build content. Yeah, that's the first one. Secondly, you add snippets from tools for the audience to understand and to see it. They understand better when you show them a very nice image. Now, as a note here, something that I like to advise people, even if they don't ask for my advice, when you add images or any type of visuals in a document, try to capture the entire screen, try to highlight, pay attention to the accessibility of your document, of your image. Yeah, add a description to the image as detailed as possible. Try to enlarge that image. Try to point to the area on that image that you want people to take a look at. Because if you're just showing something or just scrap with a pen, that doesn't do good. That's not good. Don't do that. Okay, so it helps a lot for people to understand software. Yeah. Next, it cultivates collaboration between a requester and the provider. Now, this is very important because the work of a technical writer, as I said earlier, is important because if you collaborate with the people that provide you the information and you cultivate that, you're like a gardener. Yeah, so you get the seeds of some very good stuff from a lot of people. They provide you with that, and then you plant it, and then you give it back to other people, to your requester, to your audience. So it's very important. And you help not just the person that provides you the information, because you are making people understand what they're saying, but you are also addressing a need of your requester, of your audience, to show them something they will use for a long time. And lastly is to adapt to change in an organic way, following, I don't know, the very natural flow of the audience needs. Now, what I mean by this is that tools are updating so very fast. Software world, engineering world, IT world, and I think any aspect of our lives lately evolves so very fast. So it's important that you also adapt your documentation to that. And you have to have good communication with the people that you're working with, and you have to be at the same pace. So you have to understand that change will always come, and you have to ensure that the way that you're writing documentation, it's as organic, as fast as the evolution of the product or the topic that you're talking about. Going to step number 2, it improves skill set. Yeah, it ensures that content is easy to consume. You categorize content by topic and the purpose. You determine the steps and the stakeholders to help you. You determine the status of an action and what action to take. You identify content sources that are in use. You can build rules and guidelines, and people like that. They like clear instructions. You can train a team based on documentation, and this is nothing new that I'm telling you now about. You already know this, but it's very important that people actually understand that. And if we are telling them that over and over again, maybe they will actually understand that. Yeah. So they do cleanup work. You can prepare a breakdown of actions depending on your documentation. You give people power by knowledge, just by structuring what you have from others with experience, and from different scenarios. Step number 3, or item number 3, why is it important and what kind of impact structured documentation can have? Clearing the communication. Yeah. So once you start a project, nobody knows where to go to. You have people with a lot of experience on that area. You have, I don't know, engaged program managers. You have a lot of supporting stakeholders in the SMEs, but there's something missing. There's a piece missing, and that when structured documentation comes in, it clears documentation. You put it literally on the paper or on a website. You have the content purpose to bring clarity and transparency. Yeah, this helps teams to collaborate, to understand what they have to do, in what timeline they have to do it. You have to know your audience. You have to understand a little bit the product that you are talking about, and you have to synchronize the information that you're putting out there with your audience, because the audience is one of the most important players in this game. Yeah, because you are delivering something. Now, transparency enables success. Yeah, why is that? Because it increases the visibility of a product, the references on all the levels. It prioritizes the content releases based on the impact it has and the needs of your audience, and it defines the SME list, so the subject matter expert. You have it's like you are recruiting, yeah, to deliver this great project, and you have to have your team prepared, and you have to understand why you are doing this and for whom you are doing this and what need you are addressing. So this structuring all this information, it brings clarity, and you're like, I don't know, half of the work is already done. Number 4, you can measure progress. You can quantify the creativity. Yeah, you can identify your metrics, and you can visualize the benefits. When we're talking about structuring documentation, and in general, documentation has been viewed as something very creative or something that needs to be done. I've seen engineers that are amazing. They have like 2 brains at the same time, working on a different level than other people. But when it's time for them to write documentation, to write, I don't know, describing a product or a feature or what exactly they've done to reach to a specific point, it's like they're the wholly different person. They know how to put that on paper. Where if you have a structured documentation, and by the way, I'm a big fan of templates, you have a way of helping that person to share what they have. Yeah, you leverage what exists there. You can measure the content that's being added, the new content, and you publish only what's strategic, what is very important. You can discover different resources and put them to use, or maybe you find that a way of delivering the information is not that great, so you put that aside for a moment and you switch to something to which your audience responds better. Yeah, you can have satisfaction survey to say if people really respond to the way that you're producing documentation, the way that you're structuring documentation. You can engage more people, and you can give value to your collaboration to them if you have structured documentation, because you can have reports. You can show to others, hey, we've been starting the work at this point, and this is where we are going. And you can define, yeah, performance indicators, and you can I think you can actually bring a lot of value or show a lot of value to the work that has been done up to that point. And now, why do I say that structured information defines the actual knowledge, so the actual information that we have? Because you are following a structure, and structures always are a path to a success. You have a targeted outcome, and you want to reach that point, and you are increasing the satisfaction of your audience, of your customers. And I say this again, the customers, the most important customers are the ones from the inside. Yeah, your teammates, your audience, your, I don't know, the engineers, for example, that you're working in the same team. So content is somewhere in the middle between the audience, where you have dependencies, when you have prioritization, you have timelines, you have needs, and so on. The market, yeah, you have there an interest, you have competitivity, you have different types of market aspects to address to. You have users, you have the sales area, you have maturity of a product, or maybe is not that mature. It's a lot of items to consider. And then you have the product, yeah, what you're talking about. The product can be something, it can be a software piece, or it can be a hardware piece. Yeah, so here you have to pay attention to the definition, to the use, to the features, installation we've talked earlier, what tools and technologies you use. So all this comes together at some point. And if you don't have a structure, and if you don't understand, and if you're not trying to define all this knowledge, and don't consider all these aspects, you're like, I don't know, you're like in a fog and you're trying to progress and you don't know where you're going. And at some point, I don't know, you as a company or a team trying to develop something might lose a lot of I don't know, a lot of work that has been done if they're not structured, and if they don't have a documentation that's really structured. Or you are just putting a lot of pressure on people from different teams, trying to keep up with what's going on, instead of them I don't know, minding the task they have, and having someone taking care of the documentation. And I think we reached the final point, the Q&A. I'm very passionate about documentation in general, and about structuring, and about organization, and about collaboration. And if I've been, I don't know, repeating myself or talking too fast, I'm sorry about that. It was not in my intention. So if you guys have questions, fire away. Or not.
Yeah, hello.
Hey,
All right, thank you so much for that presentation.
thank you.
So much. You covered, in a short time, you covered a lot. White paper, installation, in short, you covered the whole guide, which is very, very important. And I believe most of us here have learned a lot. So, do you have any question for Oana? So if you have any question, raise your hand, then I'll call you. You should have questions, because our assignment would be coming from this. So
Yeah, from the last session, just to tell you guys that um people have added me on LinkedIn, so you can do that. So if you don't have I don't know, any ideas now or to ask about, definitely add me on LinkedIn and we can discuss there. I see there are some questions. I'm gonna stop sharing my screen. uh Okay, if you want to get this material, I can send that material, but I think that wisdom, if you want to share that with everyone,
yeah,
I can. Okay, you can share that. I can share that. It's something that I've been working on, so I can definitely share that. Can knowledge base be seen as an embodiment of all types of documentation? Yes, in my opinion, yes, because knowledge base, um, it's basically the place where everything comes together. You create a structure in such a way that you can address all the problems related to documentation and content, actually, because a knowledge base can have something very simple as, I don't know, a description of how a team works, how to contact a team. Yeah. But a knowledge base can also have some very deep information. For example, for a technical team, for engineers, it can have code samples, it can have steps, you can have trainings, you can have videos, you can have tutorials, you can have a Q&A, you can have whatever you are thinking of and whatever it's useful for that team, because some teams work better with a specific templates or specific type of documentation or content. Other teams work better, I don't know, maybe with videos. Some like something more to interact with different people from different teams. So yes, all in all, the knowledge base, how I see it and how I see others that see it, it's a place where everything comes together. And structuring such a knowledge base, it's challenging, and it requires, I don't know, a higher level of understanding the product, of understanding the teams. You have to consider organizational changes, future changes. You have to consider what is, for example, what's the management team, what's the business team direction where they want to go to. Yeah. So yeah, you can have any type of documentation there. Yes, it's really broad. Resources. Um, yeah, I think I can share some links. I will send these to Wisdom, and he can share those with you. And I can also send you a message. Um, what I don't like to do is, for example, to recommend something in specific, because, for example, I could recommend you guys I don't know, Google documentation, Microsoft documentation, or Oracle documentation, or I don't know what company documentation. Yeah. But what I like people to understand, or technical writers to understand, is that you have to be like a chameleon. Yeah. You have to adapt. You have to understand a principle. You have to understand the idea, or the purpose why a technical writer or a team decides to create a specific type of documentation and to have a specific knowledge base structured in a way, and then you can bring, I don't know, other pieces to it. Yeah. So as a resource, I think the best resource that a technical writer can have is taking a look at how the team that you are working for is doing the work. Because, for example, and I think that this happened to you guys, and it happened to me, and I think it happens to everyone. Let's consider this. You want to apply for a technical writer role for a company, and you have a lot of great documentation written. And it happened to me. I had, for example, situations where I wrote like 5 or 4 versions of the same document for a test, for an interview. I had literally squeezed all the ideas that I had, and I had no response, from the interviewer. And I was like, what's going on? What's happening? And they never told me what was wrong or what was good. But I later found out that the way I had produced that content was not matching the way the team works. Now, I was fortunate to actually speak with someone from within, and I found out that the team had a different vision. They had a vision towards a more business-like documentation. In other situations, it happened that the team was looking for someone, I don't know, more technical into the information. So they were not looking for someone just to put like nice flowers and butterflies on their documentation. They were just needing for another engineer in that team, and that was not me. So I could not recommend you specific resources. What I can recommend you is to understand some principles, to understand that you have to be open to any kind of challenge that you can have, and to understand that each knowledge base is like a mirror of how that team works and how the product is structured and how that organization decides to do business. That's really important. And you can understand that there are some specific types of document. I've seen that the program that Wisdom has prepared covers a lot of aspects, covers tools, technologies. That is awesome. You can take this as an example. You can take this as resources for you to broaden your vision, for you to understand what to do. But I think it's very important that you understand that any knowledge base can be as different as one from the other. If you understand the principles and if you understand the audience, then you're good to go. Thank you so much, guys, and thank you, Wisdom, for inviting me.